Hi everyone, my name is Sarah, and for those who don't know me, I'm one of the teaching professionals here at the Grange Golf Club. I do lots of ladies short game clinics once a month, and hopefully we can start them up again in July. So one of my regulars, Liz Warhurst, has asked me to talk to you a little bit about my experience of life on tour. For those of you who don't know, back in 2002, I played on the Ladies European Tour. So what I thought I'd do in my little talk today is tell you how I got there and how I got my tour card, and then a little bit about life on tour and what it involves. So for me, I had a full-time job at the age of 27. I was teaching Japanese. I was very happy in my job. However, all my friends were traveling around the world playing golf. And I looked at them, I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing? This could be me. So all of a sudden it came to me that I had to resign from my job and set myself probably the biggest challenge I've ever done in my life. And that was to turn professional and to go and play on the ladies tour. So I gave myself about a year to do it, and I joined a gym and I was training 3 times a week. I read all the psychology books I could on golf so that I could get my head in the right place. And I was practicing every day, playing with really good golfers, training with a lot of the local professionals around here. And I was lucky enough to have Nick McCormack by my side, having early morning training sessions down at Glenelg's and around Flagstaff Hill and other courses around too. So I'm ever thankful to him for keeping by my side. He also introduced me to Alex Mercer. Some of you may know from Sydney, so I'd fly over to Sydney and get some more coaching from him. And also I love short games, as you all know, most of you know. So I did a lot of short game training on the Gold Coast with a guy called Laurie Montague, who was all he did was short game, and that was his passion. So I mixed myself with all the right people, hoping that I could make this dream come true. So the time came when I had to go off to tour school, and that was 2001. And it was in Portugal. Never been to Portugal, but I had a very strong desire to travel the world playing golf. That was one of my main goals. So off I went. It was right after September 11, and so as you know, I'm a pretty determined person, and the Australian cricket team had been told not to travel overseas, and my friends and I, who were all going from Sydney and Melbourne, we all said, you know what, we're just going to go, because I think this is the right time, we have to do this. So we didn't give up, and we jumped on the plane. We had the whole back of the plane to ourselves and arrived in Portugal. So there were about 200 girls going for 30 tour cards, and I was one of them. So we teed it up on the first, second, third day, and then they cut after 2 days, and then the third and fourth, just like a normal tournament. And I think I came in at 28th, and I was very fortunate and very lucky to get what's called a tour card. And I actually brought one to show you. This is what everyone wants to get, is the tour card. So this tour card allows you to play full-time on the Ladies European Tour. I know it's probably a bit harder now, but at the time it was the hardest thing I was ever going to do. And I was probably the happiest I would ever be, because knowing that I had this tour card allowed me to travel all around Europe, which I love. I loved the thought of doing that. And I couldn't have been happier. So I had all the summer to get ready. I think that was in September. I had the summer to prepare for the tour. So I continued what I was doing, the gym workout, just doing the strength training, doing a lot of fitness, general fitness, still reading the psychology books, still having the coaching from all the different people who helped me get there, and just mixing with really good people and really good golfers. That was my key, is to train hard against other good players. So I did the Aussie tour through summer, and then it came to April, and I got the lineup, the tournament lineup, and it was these countries I've never heard about and never been to, and places I've never been to. It's really exciting. So just to name a few, I think my first tournament was in Tenerife, which is a very small Canary island. It's a Spanish island. So I basically had to set myself, organise myself. At that point, back in 20 years ago, there was no real support from any bodies around Australia for me. I had to do this all myself. So I went to a travel agent and I gave him the list of places I had to get to. The European Ladies Tour actually sends you out a bit of accommodation options. You could either choose a youth hostel right through to a 5-star accommodation. They give you the transfers from which airport you had to arrive at. So basically I had to then organise all of that and arrange where I had to fly into, what days I flew into, which days I chose all of that. I'm trying to think of the next step. Then I had to obviously choose the accommodation according to my budget. And speaking about budget, I knew it was going to be fairly expensive, and I'd saved up really hard for a good couple of years working in a golf shop. And also I knocked on a few sponsor doors. I think these days you kind of join an elites group and they give you sponsorship options and they help you out. But for me, I funded every cent myself, as well as knocking on sponsorship doors. So I was really lucky to get Jacobs Creek and L'Oreal. So they gave me so much money, and all I had to do was promote their products, and I had to wear logos on my hats and whatever. But I actually think I was the lucky one, because they'd send me wine everywhere around the world. So wherever I went, whether it was Sweden or Norway or Portugal or Ireland or Italy, Spain, they would just send me a couple of, how many cases do you need, Sarah? They'd ask me. And I said, well, send me one of each, a red, a white, Shiraz or whatever. So yeah, basically I would arrive at the tournament and they would send me the wine, and I'd be everyone's best friend, because everyone wanted to come to one of my tasting sessions with Jacobs Creek, although they already knew what it tasted like. They just wanted to come and try it out and obviously have a few glasses of wine. And I used to invite the caddies and the sponsors, so I really had the word. I was known as the Jacobs Creek girl on tour. Anyway, getting back to where I was at, so that was all in my planning. So then I got my funds together, I got my body right, I got my head right, I got my itinerary all sorted, and off I went. I basically flew out of Australia by myself and arrived. I had relatives in England, so I was able to use that as a base initially. And so all my flights were leaving from either Gatwick or Heathrow. And yeah, I was kind of all alone. The first tournament was in Tenerife, the Canary Islands, so I was able to meet some friends, and there was a few Aussies also floating about, so I hooked up with some of those and then started to travel with them in the end. But a typical week on the tour, Monday is the travelling day, so once you've had all your bookings organised, you'd arrive at the airport, fly to the destination. Sometimes there were courtesy cars, other times I remember catching buses with my golf club, so dragging my big, the golf bag, and I had a wheel-on trolley, and so dragging that through the cobbled streets of Lisbon and going down to the second tournament in Portugal. And so it was quite interesting and quite hard work. I've got to say, it wasn't the easiest thing I've ever done. But I was determined to do this, and I knew that this is really what I wanted to do, and it was like someone shone a light, and that's the direction I had to go. There was no turning back. So yeah, the Monday was the travelling day, so you arrive at the golf course and you go and get your yardage book, and you'd meet, as you know from hosting a tournament here at Grange, you know that they set up their little housing, like little units, and you got the tour there. You've got we had psychologists, we had physios there as well, and we had the tour headquarters would be there. So they give you all the information of the tournament. So yeah, you'd arrive on the Monday, go and check out, have a little bit of a putt, because it's normally late in the afternoon, and probably go to the pro shop, find out the prevailing winds, get your yardage book, and just get a feel for the place. Monday night was always hang out with your friends, check out the local restaurants in the area you were staying in. And then Tuesday was normally practice day, so you sign up with some girlfriends, or if someone's name was down, you join up with them, and that's how you kind of met all the girls from all around the world. So you go out with a caddy. So generally caddies are quite expensive on the tour. You do pay their travel, their flight expenses. They normally put themselves up where they want to, and then you pay them per tournament. I know these days the caddies get paid very well. Back then I actually took a caddy with me, and she helped me out. She was a physio, so I kind of combined something that was great for me, the physio, and she wanted to travel to Europe, so we travelled a bit together, and she pulled my bag. So she wasn't a professional caddy. So yes, she would come with me for the first few tournaments, and that was a great help to me. And then Tuesday, so I'd go around the course, Tuesday with the book, we'd map out the target shots off the tee, also map out the greens, and really write down all the different runs and the best position to shoot into each green. That was really important. So Tuesday, that was pretty good. That was a real training day, and really get your head around the course and find out all the things you needed to know. Wednesday was Pro-Am, which most of you know. Thursday, day 1, day 2, Friday. So you get like an early time or a late time, or late on early. So I'd really like to get the early late because you had a big gap then during the afternoon. You could get yourself ready for the Friday. Then if you're lucky enough to make the cut, so normally, as you know, about 120 girls tee off and 60 plus ties make the cut on Saturday and Sunday. I was lucky enough to make some cuts, and with my first cut I made, another dream I had was to go to the Greek islands. So with my first check, because they give you the checks pretty much the week after, I spent that all on a trip to the Greek islands with my Greek Australian friends. We travelled around Santorini and Crete, and I felt like I really earned that, having that as my treat for the first one. I made a few other cuts. I didn't make them all, but so I was on the days when you don't make the cut, on the weekends, I would use that to do some more practice for the following week, and then I'd also do some sightseeing because I was interested in the language and the culture and just finding out about the country which I was in, and all of them were basically my first time in all those countries in my first year. So yeah, it was, for me, it was a complete dream come true to play on the tour, and that week that I just explained to you, that just goes on for another 15 weeks. Occasionally you'd have a week off in between, but I couldn't be happier. It was a place I really wanted to be and to play with some of the best players in the world. That was an incredible experience, and just to know and watch them and see how they prepare. A lot of them had different budgets. Some of them would travel. I remember spending one night in a youth hostel with the golf clubs under my bed, and then other nights spending it in a 2-3 star, sharing with some other friends. Some of the girls had travelling nannies because they had children. Some of the Swedes, Laura Davies was always about somewhere in some of the big tournaments, so it was exciting. Probably my highlight was watching my name just slip above her on the leaderboard at the Australian Masters when I was lucky enough to shoot 5 under. That was one of my big highlights. That was obviously back in Australia. But for me, yeah, the travelling on the tour was a great experience. I learned so much about organising myself, probably putting myself to the ultimate test in my golf. And my golf 100% improved. Probably my knowledge as well improved on everything to do with playing on tour and golf. And so that's why now I'm really happy to be able to come back and share that with all of my students. I hope that gives you a bit of an insight. Thanks for listening. I could probably talk for a lot longer, but I'm getting the call to wind it up. So thanks so much, and I hope to see some of you out in the golf course soon. Thank you.